All right. It's the Distracted Driving Podcast, episode 51. I am the guest, Sean Genovese. This episode is hosted by my friend Corey Rasmussen, who it wasn't exactly a hostile takeover, but he took over. He took over the podcast, and I allowed it because it was a lot of fun. I think we had a good conversation. You get to hear a little bit more from me than normal. You get to learn maybe a little bit more about me and my journey and how I ended up doing what I'm doing today, whatever it is that may be. This episode is called I Don't Work for Money. I don't work for money. But boy, it sure helps. If there was a tagline, like a secondary title, that's what it would be. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you've been enjoying my conversation with Corey. This is the last part of it, part 3. And so go, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Jump over to the website, distracteddrivingpodcast.com. Find us on LinkedIn, social media, your favorite podcasting platform. Send a carrier pigeon to my house. I mean, I don't care. Enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening.
Now, Sean, I thought I was on here to interview you. That's the weird thing.
Is that what we decided?
I don't remember, but then we ended up making it like an hour about me or something.
All right.
Well,
Do we need to start the show again?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll just continue here. But Sean,
all right. Sure. What do you want to know?
You recently shared something awesome with me that you did, and you're an industrial engineer, so you like charts and graphs and making processes better and faster, usually within like a production line lean setting or something like that. If you don't know what lean is, it's basically one part flow through a shop, and like you just have what you need in the right time. There's a whole bunch of aspects of it, but Sean's an expert in that, and Sean took that outside of the walls of engineering and helped his uncle, right? Because your uncle has a driving school.
Brother-in-law.
I'm so sorry. But his brother-in-law has a driving school in Southern California. You want to mention the name here?
They're not paying me to,
okay, we won't do that. But a nameless driving school in Southern California was run basically by phones. People calling in, scheduling times to meet with somebody, changes, rescheduling, managing the funds. It was a nightmare. So tell us a little bit more about the situation, Sean, and how it has changed.
Well, Corey, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate you having me on.
I'll be expecting.
So let me just make a minor clarification. I would argue that I did not break free of the walls of engineering. Industrial engineering, as you said, is the it's a branch of engineering that deals with studying how people work and looking for ways to make it better. And so I've applied that. It typically gets applied in an industrial setting where you've got an assembly line, physical products, things like that. I've always been attracted, though, to what I refer to as the white-collar factory, which simply means the things that are being produced, the widgets, are not physical. It's information. How does information flow through a system? How many times does the information have to get touched? How many people does it have to go through? It's like playing a game of telephone.
Right. Well, don't sell yourself short just because it's you see it as different. A lot of people, if you're the solopreneur plumber or the electrician, they're not going to come and say, "Oh, I need an industrial engineer to show me how to do my business better." And that's where I think there's a market that's ripe for the taking. That you cater to in this case. So I mean, it's a big win. Chalk it up as a win for you, Sean.
I do chalk it up as a win, and so it's a great case study, an example. Corey is now tracing with his imaginary chalk finger a W onto the screen.
W.
It is called 50 Driving School. I will mention the name. it was being like many businesses. It started off with one person as just a kind of a means of making some extra money. One person, one car, doing some lessons. It started to grow, and so when it was one person, one car, doing some lessons, putting them into Google Calendar and keeping track of things was perfectly fine. But then as it grew to 2, 3, 6, 7 cars in 2 different geographic areas with 9 or 10 different instructors, all of a sudden managing the business out of Google Calendar with a landline telephone coming into a back office in the house, it got to be a bit unwieldy.
So how much time would you say they're spending on actually driving, teaching people to drive, versus managing it?
Well, I will say, so you had one person, you had 3 people that were spending anywhere between, I would say, 20 and 40 hours a week each managing the business while also doing other jobs. So again, this started off as just an opportunity for, it was actually for somebody who was retired to have something to do, extra income. Then it spun into, hey, now we're going to kind of kick it up a notch. But you still had now the person, my brother-in-law, he's a full-time police officer.
Right.
So he's already working 50 to 60 hours a week, and then having to put in another 30 to 40 hours a week trying to run the business. And so for the longest time, I was working in that corporate America setting that we've already discussed, and I wasn't really paying attention. It's a driving school. It's a boring business, right? You're teaching kids how to drive. Who cares? I have now come along to the appreciation and realization that boring businesses are awesome because and here's my definition of a boring business: something that provides a product or service that people need, and almost everybody needs to know how to drive, and almost everybody learns to drive when they are 16 to 18 years old. It's a business that is not overly complex. And so as a result, tends to not have a lot of technology embedded into it, as is the case here. They're running
Right.
it basically with a calendar application and a telephone and a credit card machine.
Yeah.
But when you can introduce some process improvements and inject some technology to complement those improvements, you can make tremendous gains in efficiency. And to the point where now, my brother-in-law just said to me the other day, he's not sure what to do.
I've got 40 extra hours in my week.
He comes home and now he goes into his office and he's looking, and there's no emails to respond to. There's no voicemails piled up because we've streamlined things, and there's less for a single person to have to take care of because we've offloaded a lot to automation, to software, to computers. And that now, so here's another thing though that people go, oh, we had this complaint. We had some customers calling in saying, "Oh, you've taken the human element. You've taken the customer service out of your business with your new website." I disagree. It was maybe a little bit of a transition period that got rough for a minute, but really what I'm seeing now is because people are not scrambling to try to figure out, why is this instructor at the wrong school, or why did this student not show up? Did they cancel and we forgot to tell somebody? All of that noise has gone away, and now the people that are operating the business can focus on things like customer service. Somebody has a problem, they can take the time to go and dive into it and provide a better experience.
Would probably provide a better experience just because there's not miscommunications happening through the computer software.
Absolutely. And now people are less frustrated too. The people running the business are less frustrated. So when they do have to have those interactions, they're going to be more inclined to be happy and friendly by default without having to go, okay, I got to talk to a customer now. Let me switch my brain from frustrated mode to happy mode. No, it's just we've taken a lot of the frenetic activity away. so that it can be streamlined. And look, maybe now it's time to grow.
Right.
I've always said my job as a change agent and as somebody who's pursuing continuous improvement, I'm not after so much I'm after improvement, but the first step is stability. You have to have stability. And that's the number one thing that I see large organizations, they don't make time for that. They go, oh, well, we've been around for 100 years or 50 years or whatever it is, and we know better. We've got processes. We just need to go improve now so that we can do things faster, cheaper, safer. Okay, that's great, but they fail because they're chasing a moving target, because they don't have stability. And that's what we've been able to build into, again, what's kind of a boring business, but now it's kind of exciting because it's stable and people can see the forest from the trees. They can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and wow, look at what we could go improve now that we can see what's really going on.
That is fantastic.
I think it's fun.
I must say I'm constantly amazed at how, we're nerds, so we're in the thick of things as far as like we may not know everything, but we know there's automation that could be done. Like,
Yes.
So in your specific case, I doubt you ever thought about, automating a driving school, but
That's
we
accurate.
know, well, I see this process and I see that it could be this way because I've done similar things. And then you go and talk to somebody, who's been doing something like that their whole life, and they're like, "You can do that?" And you just see their eyes like open wide, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea you could even think about doing that." Oh yeah, that's been around for 20 years.
Well, and what you said earlier about you're not good with the theory, you need to be able to see it. I encounter that with this kind of stuff as well, where I'm just, sitting off to the side listening how things are going, thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. Like, how come you don't have a VoIP telephone system? And if I sit there and go, hey, you guys really should look into this VoIP telephone system, they're going, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Or hey, if you had a website where people could go and do their own scheduling, this could really help you. Oh, it's not that big of a deal, you just click a few buttons on the Google Calendar, but people don't look. I look at the world and I see factories. I see little factories everywhere, and I look at things through this systems engineering view, and what that means is that everything is connected to something else. So you're going to go and spend 5 clicks and 5 minutes updating a calendar notice, and you think, well, that's no big deal. But what you're not seeing is that, okay, but that change now maybe isn't seen by the other people that need that information. Or the flow of getting that information relied on one person. And when that one person isn't available, that's a problem.
Right.
And so as soon as you go and you deploy that solution, and then people see how it works, then they start thinking, well, wait a minute, could we do this and this and this? Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
you
you
get the
can.
ball
That's
rolling.
exactly why I wanted you to see this,
Yeah.
right? That's exactly why we wanted to
And a
do
lot of
this. Now you
times-
see the art of the
A
possible.
lot of times you really got to lead them and like almost implement it for them before they even come close to seeing it.
And that's what I will say this for my time in corporate America. I mean, that's what it taught me. I spent the majority of my career doing continuous improvement workshops and executing continuous improvement events and initiatives. And what my job was basically to bring the people together and convince them that what they wanted to do is what I secretly wanted them to do. I could see a solution on the horizon. But if I just go in and say this is how we're going to do it now,
Right.
it's not gonna take root. It's not gonna take hold.
And of
But
course,
if I can go
everybody's
in,
business is special. It's different, right?
oh yeah, you don't understand. We're different. It's not like that here. I've actually gone and done stuff where I go, look, just let's get it all out right now. I know. I don't know. You just send it. Let's get it out of our systems so that now we can go and take a look at what is the process, because I need to make sure that they see the problem and that they want to go pursue a solution so that now we can work together to go find the solution. Otherwise, it's just me and I've got a solution. I'm running around. I'm the solution. I'm looking for a problem.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't work. Nobody
Like a
wants to buy
chicken
that.
with no head.
So yes.
Anyway, it's
So
fun.
are there plans to expand this business?
Well, look, it's not my name on the LLC, so I can't really
Right.
speak for that. I can say though that what we've done with the school, what we've done with the operation, there's a path to either have extra time to go pursue other endeavors, whether that's snow skiing in the winter or spending time with family or whatever, or invest some of that extra bandwidth now into expanding the business. That's certainly a
Right.
possibility. And that's the beauty of doing improvements like this.
Well, let me ask a different question that's related.
Okay.
What is the bottleneck in that organization now?
Um, it's capacity, instructors and vehicles.
Instructors and vehicles.
So there is more demand than there is capacity to satisfy the demand.
Right. So you said they were at what, seven
Turns out
cars?
people have a lot of kids.
Right. So there was like seven cars, right?
Seven, I think there might be eight now.
Eight now. So what's to stop them from going to 1,000? Is it the system? Is it something else?
Um, I would say that it's the desire to just go start adding additional instructors, and so there's a quality element there too.
Right, because you got to vet them. You got to get a car.
Right. You're not just going to get any instructor. The school is called 50 Driving because it was started by a retired law enforcement officer. So it's an homage to Hawaii 50, which was a television show, kids, back in the
It's a
day.
television show now, I think.
About a police force in Hawaii. And yes, they did. There's a reboot. You're right. So there's an element to it where I think at the moment most, if not all, of the instructors have some kind of first responder experience. So look, there's an opportunity to expand on that. Maybe the instructors become just trained by first responders, or maybe you stick with that niche and hey, we're only going to hire people that used to be cops and firefighters and paramedics.
That'd be
In
cool.
which case, to answer your question, that becomes a limiting factor. There's only so many of those people in a given geography that are available, that are willing to go and teach kids how to drive.
Right. Now, I know just in general, all firemen have some sort of other side hustle, just because of the nature of, they're working, what, 324s? Or, yeah, 324-hour shifts every other week.
Many times, yeah.
And, it gives them a lot of free time, essentially, so they can go have a second career. So,
Well, I
kudos.
think you see that with really any kind of public service, but especially police, fire, military. They're demanding careers, and so the reward, the pay is generally not great, but the reward for those demands is, hey, you can work for 20 years and then retire, and you're young enough to go start another career.
Right.
And so, yeah, they start doing side hustles because the schedule permits that. And I'll tell you, that's shifted my perspective too. I listen to Mike Rowe's podcast a lot. Mike Rowe talks a lot about being an independent contractor. Essentially, he's going from one gig to the next. That's how he's built his career. And when I left the 9 to 5, it was kind of with that in the back of my mind that, hey, you know what? You and I are on the edge of this generational divide where our parents grew up in a time where you still go to work, you get the education, you go to work for the large company, you work for the company for 30 years, they take care of you, and then you retire and you get the gold watch and you've got a pension. We entered the workforce as this transition was happening to where that's not the way it is anymore.
Right.
Technology has changed the game so that you don't have to, work is not the place you go. More and more, it's about the thing that you provide. And you can provide that thing from almost anywhere on the planet in many cases. And so, wait a minute, here I am embarking on this career where do I really want to go and stay at one company for 20, 30 years? Or maybe I want to go be that gig worker.
Right.
Let me take the knowledge and the experience that I've developed, just like you did with the mentored engineer, and let me go just apply it here and apply it here and apply it here, and now you're kind of doing a bunch of different things, which can be more profitable and lucrative.
Maybe.
But also for people like us, I think it's a little bit more. I think we enjoy the challenge.
Absolutely. That's for me because there's no financial reason why I'd be doing the mentored engineer, as I put in way more than I've ever gotten out of it. But
Right.
it's fun and it's a challenge. I've learned a lot about web based stuff. I've learned a lot about recording videos and how to make a video that people like, which I don't know why they still don't like them. I'm trying really hard. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is the challenge, and I think it's the first time we talked after you were about to be forced out. I got that vibe from you that Sean wants to challenge anyway, because I know you had just left the airplane manufacturer of which we do not speak.
Accurate. Yeah, that's semi-accurate. I've spoken of them. But actually, it's ironically interesting to me because when I was in college, as you know, I did not have a college fund and tons of money. So when I went to school, I had student loans and I was working damn near full time, if not full time, for a good portion of it. And some of those jobs that I was working, I was doing solopreneur type stuff. I was doing computer services for people. I was helping the moving company run their business and optimize their business processes. I was doing industrial engineering before I even knew what industrial engineering was. And I was doing it just as Sean Genovese trying to make things better,
Right.
do business better.
Just keep
And
asking
then
questions, right?
and then because of the lie, I thought that my path had to be okay, go to work for the big company and do a good job and be rewarded. And when that didn't happen, I got frustrated. I did a good job, but I was very rarely rewarded for reasons that are the topic of another episode. Um, and so that frustrated me. And so I always had that pull. I always felt that calling back to, man, it was really fun when I was in school and I'd have a break and I would just go and I'd work for a day here and make some money. And I'd work for a day here. And I knew that the contributions I made, maybe I was putting more in than I was getting out, but what I was getting out I knew was a result of me. And I could see that very tangibly. And now here I am 20 years later coming back to that, remembering how much fun that was
Oh yeah, it's like being a
vis-a-vis
kid again.
the driving school and some of the other endeavors I've got going on. And it's great. And I don't know how to impart that
Yeah.
or impart that message to people.
That's kind of what I was
Um,
talking about earlier when I said, it gives you the opportunity to see things, almost with new eyes again. Like you said, while you were working corporate America, you never thought about, helping your brother-in-law with
right.
the business. So now all of a sudden, oh, I have time. I can actually, holy cow, I can actually stop and smell the roses. And
Yeah.
now you go, oh, there's an opportunity there.
Exactly. I was just going to use that word. I can sit back and go, "Ooh, wow,
Right.
opportunity, opportunity, opportunity."
So I actually have a goal that's written down. It's not really a goal, but I don't work for money. And people, what do you mean you don't work for money? Well, I don't set out at the beginning of my day to say, okay, I got to make $200 today to make ends meet. I say I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna do stuff that I love doing. Some of it I'm not gonna love doing. Uh, I'm gonna make some calls and see who I can help, and then
Mm.
everything else kind of takes care of itself. I may not see that money today. I may not see that money this month. Uh, but it does come, and it's been 5 years since I started my own company, and there hasn't been a time where I've been like, "Oh my gosh, I really have to go back to work." I've been able to, you know, and I've had periods where I had close to 6 months of no real income. So there's, However it works, God is great in how He provides, but
that is I like that. See who I can help. And I said it. I wasn't going to go down this path, but I'll just briefly mention. Upon reflection, that was part of the friction that I had when I was working in large companies, because that's how I approached things. I went to work every day, and I wanted to see who I could help. I wanted to see what I could do better, and that was often not compatible with the goals of many others who were there to see how far they could get in the organization that day. How many rungs could they climb over? How much more money could they make?
right.
Don't get me wrong, I like money, and I wanted to make more money too.
I do too, by the way, for the record.
But the politics that is inherent in the I guess the journey within an organization to get to the next level becomes it's friction. It's
Absolutely.
friction. And it slows down people like me. And the other thing that happens with friction, not to get too physics based here, but it generates heat, and that heat for me manifested itself in the form of frustration.
Well said. Sounds like this is a great place to end, Sean. Well, thank you for coming on my podcast. I appreciate your time here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks. You set up everything. You got it published to the web. I really appreciate not having to do any of that. So, thank you, Sean, for joining me on the Distracted Driving podcast. Brought to you by Sean Genovese Enterprises.
And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time.